The idea behind this phone is to strike a balance. It's to allow you to have smartphone features, but also means that you don't use your phone all the time. Hello and welcome to DumbphonesUK. My name's Joseph. I look at dumb or dumber, and in this case, smartish devices on the UK market. And today we're back on the SLEKE device. You might be thinking I did a video on that not too long ago. You can find that here or here, haven't worked it out yet. But the device has had a big old update, so I wanted to share that with you and show you what has changed. There are aesthetic changes, as you can see if you're comparing this to the other video, that's very obvious. But there's also some speed changes, there's also some changes to the App Store and the config in the back end. So we'll cover that off in this video. Why am I showcasing to you on this channel what is a Pixel 5? Well, the whole idea behind this channel is we're looking at dumber transition devices. Well, I would say that this kind of falls into transition device. It does have a lot of features of a smartphone, but the idea behind SLEKE, the ethos, if you will, is to use stuff with intention. So this device doesn't just have the ability to download whatever app you want. There are apps on here, as you can see as I scroll through it, I've got quite a few downloaded, but none of these apps are infinite scroll apps. The idea behind these apps is that they're all going to benefit your everyday, day-to-day life. Parking apps, banking apps, travel apps, Spotify. You won't find any social media apps on here, you won't find a browser on here, and you won't find anything where you can get lost in the app, unless you're going to spend your time scrolling through the train line looking at train times, which, hey, you do you. The idea behind this phone is to strike a balance. It's to allow you to have smartphone features, but also means that you don't use your phone all the time. So we're going to dive into this now and we're going to cover off the changes that have been made. We're going to cover off anything I've noticed, both pros and cons. I'll also cover off communications with the owners, with the creators of this SLEKE device, and anything else that I can think of. If you have any questions, pop them below. Please like, please subscribe. It really helps me, it helps you, it helps the channel. It means that I can bring you more phones like this. I can bring you dumber phones. Before we hop into the SLEKE device, I just want to show you where it sits in the line of phones. So this is a dumb phone. It can call, it can text. So that is our base level device. We then have the Cat S22 Flip. I'd say these two are fairly similar. This is the SLEKE phone underneath the Cat. This one, you can download any apps you like on this device that work with Android Go, but the form factor of this device means that you're less likely to use it forever, especially with the keypad itself, but I did just want to flag that up. Now we move on to the SLEKE device. I describe this as a transition device, or an intentional device is probably a better way to cover this off. I would say that this sits in a fairly similar place to the Cat, but the Cat, to input restrictions, you have to install Moment or Opal and actually apply those restrictions yourself. The SLEKE device comes with those restrictions in place already. At the end of the line, we just have a standard smartphone. I wanted to show where the SLEKE sits in the lineup of these devices. You can see that the side panel has changed slightly. There's still the option to toggle on and off the light and dark mode, but you will notice that they've got rid of priority and intervals. That was something that was causing a few issues, so they've decided to get rid of those for the moment. The buttons themselves are far easier to see, much easier to click. In terms of the update of the operating system as well, I've been informed that the phone is going to run slightly quicker. One of the main selling points of this device is the actual SLEKE store itself. So this store is a lockdown store. Any app that exists on this store only exists because it offers an educational or like a functional version. So for example, you can see 1Password exists, and as you go through, you can download all trails so that you can go out on a hike and you can obviously navigate yourself around, Amazon Photos, etc, etc. Within here, there's a long old list of apps. It's a long list that is curated and managed by sending an email to the team. If, example, I wanted to download Bandcamp, perfect, somebody has already messaged them with Bandcamp. I then click download and we will see Bandcamp. Do I want to install this application? Yes, I do. And then following the normal process, you're able to download, but you are only able to download apps off this App Store. I'm going to open Bandcamp, and as you can see, that just runs like any normal app on any normal smartphone. I'm just going to search just to show you that this can work with Bluetooth. Let's do this. I'm just going to show you this works. So that's working. So now I've just grabbed my old speaker, turn my speaker on, just going to enable Bluetooth. Hop into Bluetooth, pair new. That's now connected, and let me try. You can see that if I'm playing something, I get a notification there, and I get some buttons that exist here, so I can pause it, I can play, I can go to the next song, or I can close it, and we're back to the home page. So how do I get an app added to this App Store? Well, it's fairly simple. You message the team and they will then review it and come back and tell you whether it's been installed. So for example, I let them know that in the UK, Lloyds TSB is an important app. That's a banking app that we have here. And then they reviewed it and they added it to their App Store, and then it was possible for me to download and start using. As an example, there are some apps that we've struggled with. So All Trails, as I mentioned earlier, All Trails is an app that trying to download, that we noticed some issues with it. We've had to go back and forth a few times. I do want to call out that there are some apps that it's hard to get working on this device. So for example, for my work uses something called Okta Verify. Now, we've not been able to get Okta onto this device yet. That is something that currently in discussion with the SLEKE team. I'm in a position where I can use SMS at the moment at work to verify myself when I need to. But if I needed Okta, currently, even though the team are working hard to try and get it on, it doesn't exist on here. So I would suggest there might be some examples of apps that have some sticky points to start with, but hopefully they will be resolved. But I did just want to call out that I've experienced with one app that I've requested that it wasn't able to be added to the store yet. I'm still not sort of expecting it to not be added. The other thing to call out is this App Store has been massively improved. The reason I say that is on the old device, when you tried to update or reinstall an app, you would get an error window, and this error window would keep happening. So to resolve that, you'd have to go into your files. You'd then, within your files, you'd have to go into the APK of the actual application. You'd have to delete that out and then try and reinstall. Obviously, that's not a great system. That has now been resolved. So I did want to call out that that has been improved, and the App Store is definitely improving and growing. As you can see, there's an awful lot of stuff in here. Going to cover off another element of this screen as well now. In the top right hand corner you can see this current white button. You can also see me in the reflection here, but this white button, you can see that this is a profile of mine. You can see the photo. Sure, one bug on this device is that when I'm in this page I can't see my photo. However, when I click into it you can see my photo, but that's something that the team are aware of and are working on. But what you can do is you can click the share button and then you can select the items that you want to share. So if I wanted to share with people my Instagram, WhatsApp and Discord, I can click done and then I can select how I do that. Do I do that through Signal? Do I do that through beeper, Bluetooth, etc.? That's all managed within here. That's quite a nice feature. There is something that there used to be on here where you had a work and a personal profile. At the moment, I can only see a personal profile. Again, I don't know whether that has been removed or whether that is just a bug that is being worked on, but I just wanted to flag that as well, so I thought it was worth referencing. So I wanted to call out a few of the apps that exist on this device. Now, they're standard apps that you will know and you'll love in your store. One app that I do want to call out particularly is Beeper. Beeper is an application that allows you to connect up different chat networks and have them all pull through into the same space. This is super useful and something that's super important. I know a lot of people struggle to use a dumb phone because it doesn't have access to, for example, WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger. But I also know that people don't love the fact that they get sucked into those apps. So what Beeper allows you to do, and what this app offers on this device, is you can connect up your Messenger, Signal, Instagram, WhatsApp, etc., and it will only pull through. It only pulls through your private messages on that device. I can access and engage with people through those social networks, but I'm not allowed or dragged into those sites themselves. We have two apps. You can see travel here, and then you can also see banking as well. So these are aggregated apps that the team at SLEKE have used. So if I open it, it's actually a web page and you can select your specific site that you use. So for example, we have travel site and I'm going to click European Airlines and you can see there's a list of them here. Now if the airline I need to use isn't listed, I can message the team and get them to add it. I can also get them to add the specific app. I'm going to click British Airways, and you'll see what it does is it just pulls up the web page of British Airways, and I can go through and use this as expected. But as an example, as I'm sure the British Airways website has, down the bottom here, you can see it's got its standard Instagram, Facebook, etc. If I click on that, that web page is blocked. So I can do what I need to do using the device, but I can't go any further. I would say that's great. The same applies to banking as well. Banking is an aggregated app where you'll see specific banks, so European banks here. Which banks have I got listed? As mentioned, I can message the team to get banks added as I need. But I just wanted to call out that we do have aggregated apps there that are really useful and something that shows that the team are really thinking about how you want to use this device. The one thing that I did want to call out, and this is something that the team know about, you can see here that I currently have 3 transit apps. I don't quite know why 3 appear. So when I open it, it looks like it generates another version of the app. I think if I just completely uninstalled it and started again, it would probably work and I would be able to get rid of all 3 of those. But I just wanted to call out at the moment, in the current iteration, there does seem to be an issue whereby some of the apps duplicate. As I said, I've mentioned this to the team, they know about it and they're working on it. The other thing I wanted to mention as well is the fact of when you use an app, for example, let me open Trainline now. You'll see that Trainline opens. I'm going to allow notifications for that, and I can search and use it. But when I've used Trainline, you'll now see, I'm pretty confident I opened it down there. I'm going to open it again on this 3rd row. Let's pay close attention to that. So again, the app has opened, I've used it, I'm closing it, and then opening it again, the app is now on the 2nd row. I don't love this as a user functionality. I don't love that the apps move around. That is something that I've spoken to the team about, and they are removing that in a future release so that the apps will stay locked in place and there won't be any ability to move apps around. But I did just want to call that out because at the moment the apps will move based on what you use and what you don't use. Potentially there's an argument that the least used apps will move to the bottom and gradually you'll start to realise I don't need that app, I can delete it. But I find it a bit of a tricky, I don't really love the fact that the apps move, so I just wanted to call that out for now. I don't want to spend too long on the camera because this is a smartphone and the camera is going to be very good. It's not a fair comparison if I were to compare this to a different device, but again on here you can see me, I'm chatting away and I can set that to video and I can be talking to you. The other thing I wanted to focus on as well when I open up the app palette is the QR code scanner. One particular reason that a lot of people say that they struggle when swapping to a dumb phone is that restaurants or transport apps or even events places make you scan a QR code. So this removes that problem. You can scan a QR code using this scanner and it will work. I'm going to grab my Mac and show you that. Here we have a QR code and I am going to load up the QR code scanner on this device. So I'm finding that the QR code is currently taking me to this. That's interesting. I will raise that to the team. This one is attempting to take us to a website. So you can see that takes me to the company's website. I can then view a menu. I can look at the specific pubs and I can go through there. Another feature of this device is the fact that you don't have a web browser. So you currently have just this search button at the bottom of your screen here. If you click that, this allows you to search on the web, but you can't actually go into the web and sort of enter an endless scroll loop. So as you know, I like to search for Fulham results. Let's change that to result. Perfect. It uses the Perplexity API and it pulls through that information. So Fulham's last match was against Wolves and we won 2-1. We did indeed. Well done, you've got that correct. But for example, you can't go any further into that. You can't sort of skip around anything like that. You can't dive further into this. That's all you get. So if you needed a quick message, in case you needed to know that information, there we go, the sun sets today in London at 5:39 p.m. So you can get the information you need. You can't spend your time surfing the web endlessly. The final thing that I wanted to showcase on this device is messages and notifications for those messages. And you can see notification here for a missed call, but also down here, you can see half a red dot. Now that half a red dot there is something that the team are working on. There we have it. For the eagle-eyed among you, you'll see that my jacket has come off, and that's because it got hot in the UK. And when I say hot, I tell you what, let's use this phone to find out how hot. We are at the end of February, and hot in the UK is currently 9 degrees. So that's hot enough for me to have taken my jacket off whilst I was recording this video. I just wanted to cover a few things off on this device before we headed off. As I mentioned in the actual deep dive into the video, and I flagged it on the chapters, there are a couple of things that need improving. For example, if you are paying $450 or equivalent, you do want to make sure that your phone is running pretty well and the bugs are to a real minimum. So for example, I raised during that video the fact that my profile at the moment on the homepage doesn't have my icon. Not massive, not a complete deal breaker, but worth mentioning. Another thing is the QR code scan. When I was scanning the QR codes as we were going through it, there was a couple of issues. There was that issue whereby it sort of opened up a white box. Again, I'll raise it to the team. Again, not a deal breaker for me, because if you just try it again, it worked as we needed. And the final thing I wanted to call out, which I think is slightly more specific to, if not the UK, sports fans in general, I found that the Perplexity AI, so what we use when we're searching on that web search effectively, isn't up to date enough. So for example, if I want to know the current football score, say my team are playing football right now and I'd like to know the score, I don't want to go into anything further than knowing the score, can't keep me up to date with that. So that's something that I've raised to the team, and they're looking at getting a sports-specific API that can just return the score or the current score to you. I think it'd be really useful and something that could improve this device. I think this device is a really interesting concept and something that is really worth looking at. If you're interested in it, if you use the code that I've popped below, you'll get 5% off. I believe I'll get 5% as well, but I'm going to be honest, you do you. If you feel you want to use that to help out the channel, great. And if you don't, that's okay as well. Go direct. I love the idea of using something intentionally. I think that only having apps that are useful are going to allow us to live our day to day and not let us get sucked into the phone is another really, really interesting thing, and something that I wholeheartedly agree with. So again, I'm big into this phone based on that. The other thing that this phone lets you do is strike a balance. So you can have the functionality of a smartphone with the apps that are useful to you, but you don't need to have those apps that might suck you in and end up wasting your time. You might ask the question, why would I get this device and why wouldn't I get an iPhone or a Samsung device and just install Moment or Opal or something that locks down my usage, or even just screen time on the iPhone? Well, as somebody who's tried that in the past, one, they're easy to bypass. Two, just having something in place that means you can't install those apps is a really good barrier. So the fact that you can install Instagram and then set a 10-minute timer, it's easier to go, oh, I'll ignore the 10-minute timer and carry on using it. If you don't have it on this device and you can't access it on this device, then that is a huge plus if you're trying to reduce your screen time. The idea behind this is that it's trying to restrict phone usage but allow usage for everyday life. So it's an ethos that I can really get on board with. I'm really liking what they're doing. I'm looking forward to seeing how this phone improves, the information that I can provide to them and how that can improve it as well. So any questions you've got, pop them below. I'll try and answer them. Other than that, have fun out there. Behave yourselves. Bye-bye.